misguidance. Now usually the Buddhas, if they know genuinely, correctly, the character traits of a person which are having some faults. Here faults means repeated faults. Acting and habituating frequently. When one practices a certain bad habit frequently, when the Buddha and his disciples understand, actually, genuinely, he guide to get rid of, remove him from that habit. Now that prince, he was misguided by Nigantanath Buddha, the founder of Jainism, right? Now the Buddha's policies, one of the Buddha's policies is, whenever he understands truthfully one's character, actually, genuinely, directly, he tells that. Usually he tells that fault directly. Right? Now, whenever they are misguided, and sometimes their whole life is misguided by such a bad habit, sometimes grave fault, sometimes maybe minor fault, before its development, Buddha guided him to avoid from such a fault. So that prince was misguided by Nigantanath Buddha. Now Buddha's policy is to reveal such a fault when the Devadatta, the cousin of the Buddha, I think you remember that character, always actually opposing the teachings of the Buddha. Devadatta, he was a bhikkhu, but not a real bhikkhu, who actually not having right understanding Sammaditthi. But however, he acted to disharmonize the bhikkhu sangha, community of sangha, right? Then the Buddha told him, if you continue this, one of the grave actions, unwholesome actions actually, as we have understood so far, they are the one of the fivefold grave unwholesome actions. That is, disharmonize the bhikkhu sangha, right? The bhikkhus are always in harmony, but Devadatta disharmonized. Always he took effort frequently to disharmonize the community of sangha. Then Buddha told him, if you practice this grave unwholesome action, in the next birth definitely you would be fallen in the hell or miserable condition. I think you have got to know what is meant by hell, because he happened to torture, right? Hearing this point, Nigantanath Buddha misguided that prince, right? If it is so, why don't you go to the Buddha and ask me, if he was having compassionate mind, why he should hurt one's mind, revealing the genuine truth. But it was not the policy of the Buddha. Actually, whatever fault he got to know, always he pointed out very genuinely, you must get rid of that fault. But however, doing so would be very great fault by such a compassionate minded person as Buddha. Actually, this is a very, very psychological point. I want to explain that when we consider the essence of this sutta, very, very psychological point. The first step is actually always we must be able to understand ourselves, whether we have been practicing wholesome thoughts or unwholesome thoughts. We must be able to understand correctly. Why I say so? Because some people misunderstanding that they are sinners, without doing any kind of sinful action. That is misunderstanding. Psychologically, such a misunderstanding is greatly affecting to one's psychic development. When the psychic development is fallen, deteriorated, regenerated, what happens is all the daily activities also become degenerated, decline. So therefore, psychologically, it is very, very important to understand whether we have been practicing wholesome thoughts or unwholesome thoughts. If we have misunderstood that without doing unwholesome actions, we are practicing without doing unwholesome actions, we are doing unwholesome actions as a wrong understanding. Actually, his mind becomes remorseful mind, repentant mind, remorseful mind. That is known as in Pali language, kukkucca. Uddacha kukkucca, out of 5 letters, Uddacha kukkucca is the one of them. Kukkucca would be psychologically very, very grave mistake if your mind usually becomes remorseful. Actually, you may be inclined to do bad only. Now, as a psychological point, if anybody is remorseful, having such a misunderstanding or practicing even very minor unwholesome actions, if he has been practicing major grave unwholesome actions, actually no solution. Definitely he would be fallen in the hell, actually in a miserable condition. I think you know that. But however, if one is very, very remorseful through misunderstanding that I have been practicing some unwholesome actions, actually thinking that they are sinners, we are sinners, I am a sinner. Now when you read Bible, I want to point out one incident from Bible. Actually it is better to compare and contrast some holy books, no? Quran is a holy book, Bible is a holy book, but Tripitaka is not a holy book. You can ask me later, I am not discussing that, right? The holy words are included there, but cannot be regarded, introduced as a holy book. Not only to worship the inclusion of that book, but to practice the inclusion of that book. But however, in Bible, there is a teaching. You can read Bible. I am not reprimanding or actually blaming or anything included in a certain book of belonging to other religious person. But however, comparison is necessary, right? Actually, there is a concept known as born sinner. Born sinner. What is meant by born sinner? Born sinner means frequently is introduced as a sinner. He is a sinner. Always the sin consciousness functioning in his mind. But Buddha's policy is not to develop sin consciousness. In this sutta, you can understand, if you read the meanings of that sutta, translation of that sutta very clearly, Nigantanatha Buddha, the founder of that religion, Jainism, always he took effort to develop sin consciousness, right? Therefore, I remember in addition to inclusion of this sutta, there are some other examples also.